Krishna. Am I audible?
Pranams Maharaj, Jai Shri Ram Krishna, India Maharaj.
Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Welcome to the discussion on Ramakrishna, the Great Master. We'll first get into the life of Mathuranath Vishwas and then come to the proper life of Sri Ramakrishna. We will continue the life of Mathuranath Vishwas from where we had left in the last session. During her lifetime, Rani Rasamani had made Mathur the custodian of the Dakshineshwar temple. And after her death, he became the sole executor of her vast estate. Naturally, this placed on him a great deal of responsibility, which he took very seriously. One day, a thief stole the ornaments from the image of Radha Krishna, we know that there is a temple of Krishna too there. So a thief stole the ornaments from the image of Sri Krishna. When Mathur found out about it, and he went to the temple and said to the deity, "What a shame, O God, you couldn't save your own ornaments." Sri Ramakrishna, who was also there, sharply rebuked him. First of all, Ramakrishna could have kept quiet because he's a king or he's the owner, he's a rich man, he's providing all the things to Ramakrishna. If you go against him or if you get his enmity, then it will be difficult for you. But Ramakrishna never cared for such things. He never had any fear of rebuke, fear of future consequences, because he was solely dependent on Lord. So no fear at all. So we can see another one of the Ashtapasha which has been broken. You know that the last session we saw Ramakrishna sitting on the Panchamundasana and doing the sadhana. So to remove that one of the Ashtapasha's fear, and many other sadhanas we saw to remove the lajja, shame, kama, so many other Ashtapashas. Different sadhanas has been given in the Tantra sadhana, which are very, very difficult. Now here, you can see the fear is gone. He's not worried about what Mathurnath may do in future. He openly rebuked Mathurnath. So you should see the guts. So there is no fear that something may happen to me. So I should tell the truth. There is no going back on it. So when Mathurnath, when he saw the ornaments were stolen and started rebuking Krishna, "What a shame, O God, you couldn't save your own ornaments." I think the same argument was done by one of the founders of a great organization. So he saw when he was a small child or grown-up boy that one rat or a rodent was moving about on the head of the Shivalinga, moving from here to there, climbing on the head of the Shivalinga. That boy who saw, who would be the next founder of that great organization, saw that how can a rodent run on the head of Shivalinga and Shiva is not protecting himself, is not chasing him away. So immediately he took to the conclusion that God with form doesn't exist. So we shall not pray to God with form, we will pray to God without form. And we all know that who that person also met later on in the years, Sri Ramakrishna. That was Dayananda Saraswati. So now he too made the same decision. So the answer can be seen here, telling that how can God with form exist? Because he cannot protect himself from that rodent or rat running upon his head. Now the same way, in the same strain, you can see here, Mathurnath Vishwas is complaining against Lord Krishna, telling that, "What a shame, O God, you couldn't save your own ornaments." Sri Ramakrishna was also there, sharply rebuked, not at all afraid of Mathur. He sharply rebuked Mathur, saying the idea, does who has Lakshmi, Divine Mother Lakshmi itself, he has Divine Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, goddess of wealth, who gives wealth, so many different types of wealth, not only money. There are so many varieties of Lakshmi. Santana Lakshmi, Saubhagya Lakshmi, then Dhana Lakshmi, Dhanya Lakshmi, Dhairya Lakshmi, so many wealth can be given, the different aspects of mother. All that Lakshmis, the goddess of wealth, fortune, all the different varieties. So does he, Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu, who has Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, for his handmaid and attendant, who will be always sitting at the feet of Lord Vishnu and massaging his feet, doing his Ekanta Seva. Lakshmi is doing that job. That idea that who has Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, for his handmaid and attendant, ever lack any splendor? Does he want your golden ornaments or some other things you put on that? You put on the Lord? So does he need your ornaments? You want to show off your richness, so you put so many ornaments. You want to decorate the Lord with so many other things, you devotees, and you put all those things for your grandeur and show off your greatness. And now you tell the Lord should be watching like a watchman all those ornaments. He doesn't have any other job to do other than watch your glass beads. What is that to him? Even an ordinary saint thinks that the gold and mud are one and the same. The diamond and carbon are one and the same. Diamond is nothing but carbon. For you, it is something great. But for a man of realization, it is trash. Doesn't value even a bit about that. So the idea, does he who has Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, for his handmaid and attendant even lack any splendor? Those jewels may be precious to you, but to God, they are no better than lumps of clay. Those jewels are nothing but lumps of clay for God. Shame on you. You shouldn't have spoken so meanly. What riches can you give to the God to magnify his glory? By giving some ornament, do you think you have magnified his glory? What riches can magnify his glory? So Ramakrishna rebuked him without fear of anything. Whether you may be the king, you may be a great man. So simply because you are a great man, should I not tell you the truth? You're speaking nonsense, blaming the Lord himself that he didn't protect his ornaments. They are just glass beads or they are just lumps of clay for him. Does he lack any splendor, any wealth? While the goddess of fortune, Mother Lakshmi, is itself there as her handmaid, and he should be like a security guard, guarding your ornaments. Don't have any other work, important work to do, because you have all such nonsense as your work, and you think the Lord also should do all these things. You superimpose your petty mind on the Lord and blame him. So this is an answer for many of us. Many of us think in this train. The Lord should have done this. The Lord should have created the world like this. So we find fault even with the Lord. So when Mathurnath addressed the Lord in this way, telling that, what a shame, O God, you couldn't save your own ornaments. Sri Ramakrishna, who was also there, sharply rebuked him, saying, that idea, does he, who has Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, for his handmaid and attendant, ever lack any splendor? Those jewels may be precious to you, but to God, they are no better than lumps of clay. Shame on you. You shouldn't have spoken so meanly. This is an answer for all of our such doubts. We will be also speaking in that strain many times. Such arguments will be put forth. So remember these sharp words of Sri Ramakrishna told to Mathurnath Vishwas. Immediately you should remember those things. Get it by heart. Memorize this statement of Sri Ramakrishna again and again. God doesn't need your splendor, your wealth. That's why while doing puja of Lord Krishna or any God, I used to always tell, many people were telling, oh, how can the devotees arrange all the items for puja? Now it is locked down. There is that, so much of difficulty. So much of this thing, how can they do all the arrangement for this thing? They will be in trouble because of the lockdown. Oh, I was just thinking, for the sake of the children, for the sake of the wife, for the sake of the husband, They'll be going to any places to bring anything. But what is the value of God? God is just a fashion. God is just a boon giving mission. He is only meant to give some boons, that's all. So his presence is not felt at all. The children, the husband, the wife are the reality. But God is not a reality at all. He is just a doll placed in the shrine to show off to the people who come there. So we can't make even little arrangement. We do for our own sake, for our selfish ends, for our enjoyments. We go to any extent, we go to any supermarkets, we go everywhere to bring everything. We are ready to go to get alcohol, smoking cigarettes, that and this. We are ready to do everything, but we don't have time, we don't have patience, we don't have money to get little things for God. But we expect that Lord should give us everything in the world should be given to us, and if nothing, if something is lacking, we'll blame God, telling that, oh, God has not given it to me. But on the contrary, we don't want even to take little strain, that too once in a year. We don't want to get up, wake up until 12 o'clock for the sake of the Lord. We don't want to spend even a little fortune which we have. We all just want for our selfishness, but to do something on God. And we expect so much from God. So you can just imagine what God is a reality to us, what is priority to us in our life. What are our priorities? Just enjoyments? We can just watch ourselves. We can analyze our thoughts. So there's a chance where Ramakrishna is pointing out to Mathur, this will be a chance for us to analyze, put ourselves into the test, litmus test. Where are we? What is our thought towards God? What is our relationship with God? Is God real to us? Is God just a doll kept there in the house for the decoration of the shrine to show it to the other people who come say our shrine is so beautiful? So God should be a reality. God should be our priority. God should be more real than our husband, wife, and children, father and mother. It should be more a reality to us. For us, even father and mother are not a reality. We neglect as soon as we have our family and children. So we neglect our own father and mother. Then what is the case with God? How can we get that intensity, intense feeling towards God? So this is a very rare opportunity where Ramakrishna, that rebuke, the sharp words to Mathurnath should be a reminder when we have some such thoughts with our puny mind. So those jewels may be precious to you, but to God they are no better than lumps of clay. Shame on you. You shouldn't have spoken so meanly. What riches can you give to God to magnify his glory? Just by giving some beads of gold, you think you can magnify? Some people even go to the extent of putting duplicate ornaments like gold. They want to show off to the world that they have so much of gold when they go out, but they don't have so much of money. What do? They want to show off to the world. It's all show off. So they will bring rolled gold, artificial gold, and wear it just to see other people should get jealousy. Oh, that person is having so much of gold, showing off to the world, and I don't have that. So just to instigate jealousy, we do all such things. Show off, that's all. And we value that thing and think that we are so wealthy. But that rolled gold, that artificial gold, that lump of clay, or that piece of toy, or a bead of glass, do you think it will magnify the splendor of the Lord? The Lord needs all those things. So another that word, sharp word of Sri Ramakrishna, you shouldn't have spoken so meanly. What riches can you give to God to magnify his glory? What has God told? I want only your devotion. I don't want anything. The whole universe is mine. I have created everything. Can't I get anything what I want? So for me, you may give even fruits. Can't give fruits. Okay, you don't have money to give fruits. Are they costly? Patram, leaves. Leaves are easily available. Phalam you can't give, then patram, leaves are easy. Tulsi leaf, you can put anywhere, any leaf. This thing, you can just offer that leaves to me. Toyam, You can't give even leaves. Bilva leaf is very difficult. Tulsi leaf is very difficult to get. Other leaves are very difficult to get. In winter, it is all the leaves are falling. Okay. Toyum, you can give water. Sufficient water is there. Tap water, borehole water, well water, river water. Everywhere water is there. Okay. Is there a drought and you don't have water? 2. So just replace it with anything. What I want is devotion. I don't want anything from you. Yo me bhaktya prayachati. Phalam, patram, pushpam, toyam. Anything. I have seen so many people replacing all the articles with just water. So they will tell, I'm giving gandha. They don't have gandha. They are very poor maybe. They will take little water and imagine that they are giving gandha and give that. They don't have flowers. Take water, give it to him. Imagine in your mind that you are giving flowers. You don't have costly things to give, madhuparka and other things, naniyam. Imagine water itself as kshira, milk. Imagine that water itself is honey, curds, sugar, all the panchamrita, ghee, clarified butter is given. Mentally feel. Do you want to do? Is there any dearth of or poverty for you to imagine? Is there any poverty for your imagination? You can imagine those things. Some people, even to Devi and other deities, many other deities, when they're doing, they will do kunkumarchan, sindura, or vermilion is offered. Then after that, they will give that as prasad and people will put it on their forehead or on their head. So there is no such restrictions. God doesn't want anything. He's the owner of this universe. Is he waiting for your gold and other ornaments? Not at all. You want to show off your things. You want to give that. Okay. God will also receive it if you want to please the devotee. But you should not have such mean mind that God should be guarding it. It's your responsibility to guard it from the thieves or something. So that was the rebuke given by Sri Ramakrishna to Mathur. So that all of us, if you have any harbor such thoughts, then you should put out those things. So in puja too, while doing now the next Ganesha puja is coming. So some people may start thinking, oh, how can you procure grass? How can you procure this to the Lord to do the puja? So this will be a very beautiful lesson. So what is our priority? What is our thought about God? How much do we feel God is real? What is his place in his life, in our life? So he is just the ashrama, the Lord and other things are just for fashion, of just some position in the society. Not at all. They should be the reality. They should be the prime thing. The Lord and his house should be the prime thing. So we just tell, oh, the Master, the Lord is all our highest. We don't bother for anything. But it is not shown in action at all. In action, it is zero. In show off, we are heroes. But in our actions, we are zeros. Although Mathur was normally a miserly person, his generosity knew no bounds when it came to Sri Ramakrishna. And he never hesitated to feed and clothe even the wandering holy men who came to Dakshineshwar. Sometimes, at the bidding of the master, he would lavishly offer other gifts also to the monks, such as blankets or water pots. Once Mathur and the master were watching a yatra. What is yatra? A folk play based on the sacred stories. So the dramas or folk play based on the sacred story of the Lord or on the scriptures. Mathur placed 100 rupees. At that time, 100 rupees was a huge amount. Maybe present day, it will be something like $1 million or something like that, or 10,000 rands, 50,000 rands. So Mathur placed 100 rupees arranged in stacks of tens in front of the master so that he could reward the various actors with a stack each. He himself was a miser. So Mathur has been transformed from the miserly attitude, maybe due to the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna like this, to become very free. Whenever Ramakrishna would be there, he would become very generous. So now he placed 100 rupees arranged in stacks of tens in front of the master so that he could reward the various actors with a stack each. But Sri Ramakrishna had no sense of money at all. Ramakrishna never valued money. He didn't, you can see from the beginning, from the childhood, he didn't like arithmetic at all, counting, giving value to this money, piece of paper, you give value. So he had no sense of money at all. He would simply push the entire amount to the first actor who pleased him with the song or the speech. Ramakrishna would push the whole thing, whole 100 rupees, to the actor who acted nicely, who sang very nicely on the Lord. He would simply push the entire amount to the first actor who pleased him with a song or speech without the least irritation. So now the whole 100 rupees gone. Then 100 rupee was very huge amount. We're talking about 150 years back. So 150 years back, value of 100 rupees was, as I told you, even 1 cent, 1 pice. People used to tell, our elders used to tell, carrying 1 pice or 1 cent, present day 1 cent. Going to the market, we could bring so many vegetables, so much of rice, so much of dal, so much of other grams and grains, just with 1 pice. So that's, just imagine 100 rupees of 150 years. So for Ramakrishna didn't know the value of money. He would push the whole 100 rupees. Then Mathur would not get irritated. Just imagine such a miserly, such a stingy man who rebuked Krishna, telling that you couldn't guard your own ornaments. What shame on you. Such a person is ready to give anything, even valueless thing. Ramakrishna has just pushed off 100 rupees there to that the first actor. He doesn't know the value of money. But Mathur had so much of regard, so much of reverence to Ramakrishna that he would again stack another 100 rupees or even more. So that was the reverence, that even though he was so miserly a man, that was the highest regard he had for Sri Ramakrishna. So, but Sri Ramakrishna had no sense of money. He would simply push the entire amount to the first actor who pleased him with a song or a speech. Without the least irritation, Mathur praised the royal mood. Mathur not only pushed another amount of same stack of money there, he even appreciated the royal mood of Sri Ramakrishna. He would simply push the entire amount to the first actor who pleased him with a song or speech. Without the least irritation, Mathur praised the royal mood of the master and replaced the money again. Sri Ramakrishna gave it all away to another actor. Then, wishing to reward a third actor and finding no money laid out for him, he took off his own clothes and gave them to the actor. Ramakrishna, when he could not find another stack of money there ready to be given to the actor, so what would he do? He would take off his own cloth or honor, whatever he had at that time, valuable. Took off his own cloth and gave them to the actor. A few years before this, in order to free himself from the attachment of money, Sri Ramakrishna had one day taken money in one hand and clay in the other and thrown both into the Ganga, saying, Rupee is clay and clay is rupee. Taka mati, mati taka. In Bengali, taka means money. Mati means mud, clay. So you see, if you come to this city, in the great city, the economic capital of South Africa, Johannesburg, we are sitting on the gold mine. everywhere, kilometers together. It is just mine. There'll be tunnels going on. So if there is just a small earthquake or a blast here in South Africa, we will all go down. So much of digging is happening, and they remove that so much of mud, and the heaps of mud have been piled up everywhere. It looks like mountain. So in the evening, it will be shining like gold, the leftover mud. And also they make bricks out of that. The bricks also will be yellowish in color. So everywhere below it is gold and gold. They are removing gold from underneath Johannesburg. So everywhere there is gold mines going on. So where does it come from, gold? From mud. So European countries, it was always celebrated earlier as gold rush. So they only value gold. They would run, the Europeans and the Western people, wherever there is gold mine, they would run there, occupy that country, subdue those people, and extract all the gold and take back to their houses, to their countries, and reward their queens, whatever. So the Western people now who are after money, they'll be just rushing wherever there is money. Ramakrishna Vivekananda gives the contrast between those and the Eastern people. But on the contrary, our people in the East or Indians, they would not rush for gold. But tell them there is a great man, there is a great manifestation of God, there is a realized soul sitting on the top of the mountain, very difficult to reach there. They will go in millions in queue. You can see now, lakhs and lakhs of people rushing. Even though there is terrorism, people may kill you, there may be a bomb blast in Kashmir. They will go to see that ice linga formation of Lord Shiva in Amarnath cave. They will go to Yamunotri, Gangotri. They will go to Kailas Manasarovar just to go there, have a glimpse of that Kailas Parvata where Lord Shiva lives. So much of difficulty from the Chinese government. So they have to take up so much of difficulty, the harsh climate there. Oxygen level is less, they can die anyway. In spite of that, they rush. Why? Spirituality is more important to Indians. So they go rush there. But on the contrary, you could see the gold rush. For those people, gold was everything, money was everything. Money, wealth, enjoyment is everything. But for these people, the Lord, His manifestation, realized soul, wherever they'll rush. They will not care for their life. People die, but they are happy to die in the search of the Lord. So that is the contrast. So here, Ramakrishna had one day taken money in one hand and clay in the other, thrown both into Ganga to tell his mind deeply that it doesn't value anything other than mud, clay. That's all. That is the value. He had taken money in one hand and clay in the other hand, thrown both into the Ganga, saying rupee is clay and clay is rupee. Taka, mati, mati, taka. Even though Mathur knew about this, he loved to offer expensive things to Master. Mathur knew that Ramakrishna would not care for these things. But even then, he wanted to offer Master many expensive things. He knew that Ramakrishna will throw away. He may even given it to some beggar or something. In spite of that, he wanted to offer very costly things, very splendorous things to Sri Ramakrishna. Expensive things to the Master he loved to offer. Even though Mathur knew about the value Sri Ramakrishna would give to these things, he loved to offer expensive things to Sri Ramakrishna. Sometimes he would bring Sri Ramakrishna to his Calcutta residence so that he could enjoy his holy company and serve him to his heart's content, as it is the nature of a person to offer the very best to someone he loves. So Mathur one day bought a new set of dishes made of gold and silver just for the Master to use. To Sri Ramakrishna, however, a leaf plate and a gold plate were just the same. He came to Mathur's house and used those expensive dishes without any wonder or awe. Then Mathur dressed the Master in elegant clothes and said, Father, Baba, you are the owner of everything, including this our estate. I am nothing but a steward. Look, you have just finished your meal from a gold plate and have drunk from the silver vessel, and then you have left without giving them a backward glance. Now it is my duty to have them cleaned and put it in safe place so that you can use them again. So now that was the attitude, that was the intense devotion Mathur had to Ramakrishna. So now we have completed, or we have gone to some extent the life of Mathur. We shall now come to our proper study of Sri Ramakrishna, the great master. Ramakrishna has almost completed the 64 tantras, sadhana, the spiritual practices according to the Shakta philosophy, the tantra, under the guidance, guruship of none other than the great Bhairavi Brahmani. And also, yesterday we were about to enter very special aspect of one deity. So we will again go through that. And it is a coincidence. In another few more days, we are going to get the worship of that great deity, the birthday of that great deity, that is Bhadrapada Shukla Paksha. That is the bright fortnight is approaching. Bhadrapada Masa, Shukla Paksha, Chaturthyam Titau, the fourth day of the bright fortnight of Bhadrapada Masa is the birthday of Lord Ganesha, the beautiful child of Mother Parvati. You know, Parvati would get so happy, feel so joyful when she used to see Lord Ganesha. So what is that beautiful shloka which is told to Lord Ganesha? There is one verse, just like we tell so many verses to Lord Ganesha, Shuklam Pradaram Vishnum Shashivaranam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadaram Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashante Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. There is one more verse which is very popular to Lord Ganesha. What is that? Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadantam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. What is the meaning of that? Agajanana Padmarkam. Agaja. What is it? You may feel all opposite things are there. Agajanana. We know about Gajanana, but who is Agajanana? So what is that? Very peculiar words have been used here. Agaja means who is born in the mountain. Who is born in the mountain? So the mountain king, Himalaya's king, was the father of Parvati. That's why he gets the name Parvati. Because she is the daughter of Parvata Raja Kumara. Parvata Raja. So that's why Agaja means one who is born to the mountain. So that's why that is the name of Mother Parvati, Divine Mother, Agaja. Anana. Agaja is Parvati or Divine Mother Durga. Anana means face. Padmarkam, just like the Padma, lotus, Arkam. So when the sun rises, then the lotus blooms. When the Arka or the sun rises, when all the know that, there is one more flower called Naidile, that when moon comes, then that blooms in the night. When the sun comes, it closes. But the lotus, it opens when the sun comes. You also have seen the sunflower that will also turn towards where sun goes. Not only it will open, it will turn direction of the sun too. And when the sun sets, it will droop down. So like that here, the lotus blooms so much of joy when it sees the sun. Like that, Gajanana Padmarkam, Gajananam Aharnisham. Aharnisham is day and night. Aharnisham, Gajananam. When you used to see that Lord Ganesha, for her Ganesha is not the Lord baby. Whenever Divine Mother Parvati would see Ganesha day and night, anytime, She would feel so joyous, Parvati, Mother Durga would feel so joyful. Just like the lotus flower will feel so joyful when it sees the sun and blooms. Like that, the face of Divine Mother Parvati would bloom like lotus, day and night to see Ganesha. Gajanana Padmarkam, Gajananam Aharnisham, Anekadantam. So we call Ganesha Ekadanta. And here in this shloka, see, everything is reversed. Anekadantam. How can he be Anekadam? It is Ekadanta. They are telling Anekadantam. So how it is to be opened up or that broken up? Aneka, many. Dam means desires. Tam, to the Bhaktanam, devotees' desire. So he fulfills. Anekadam, he gives boons. Dam means that boons or desires he will fulfill. Aneka, many boons he will give, many desires he will fulfill of the Bhaktanam, of the devotees. So such Ganapati, such Ganesha, Upasmahe, I am going to worship, I am going to do Havan, or I am going to serve him. That is the meaning of that shloka. All reversed. Gajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadantam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe. So who is Ganesha now? We are going to now think of or meditate upon that great deity Ganesha. The moment Mother Parvati sees his face day and night, Mother Parvati's face would bloom like that of a lotus when it sees the sun. And who is that Ganapati? The giver of boon, many boons for his devotees. Such Ganesha I am going to worship. That is the meaning of that beautiful shloka. And his birthday is fast approaching. 22nd we are going to celebrate, and there will be puja. So you have to get ready to do the puja of how I'm thinking of how elaborately we can arrange sitting in your house, bringing Ganesha to your own house and worshipping him. So I'm thoroughly thinking on those lines. What are the methods by which we can make our devotees worship Ganesha in a beautiful way? So that Ganesha Chaturthi is coming, the fourth day. Chaturthi means fourth day of the Shukla means lunar bright fortnight, Bhadrapada Masa, the month. So here, now Ramakrishna is going to praise that Ganesha. So before his birthday, see how it is a coincidence. Exactly his praise is coming, that too by none other than the great Avatara of Lord Shiva, of Lord Narayana, Vishnu, of Divine Mother, Sri Ramakrishna. He is now praising Ganesha, that great deity Ganesha. So we shall enjoy that praise of Ganesha now. One day, while living at Dakshineshwar, the master made mention of his lifelong filial attitude towards all women. The filial attitude is seeing mother or himself feeling like a child to every woman, any woman for that sake. So lifelong, not 1 day, 2 day, lifelong filial attitude towards all women. And Ramakrishna maintained that. If you go back to childhood of Ramakrishna, when he had gone to take bath in the Haldar Pukur, in Kamar Pukur, so he was now jumping and splashing water, going to the ladies' ghat there. One of the old women told, it was not out of any intention that she wanted to chase away the children. She started scolding them, don't you know that you should not come to the ladies' ghat? You know that ladies are taking bath and you should not see all those things. That child, Ramakrishna, 5 or 6, he questioned, why should I not see? What will happen? Then that old lady got angry and while scolding all ran away. But Ramakrishna would not do anything unless he was totally convinced of something. So you have to give him the reason, that small child. He was willful at that time. Then the lady just scolded and he ran away. But then another time when he met that old lady going there on the street, she told, I came many times. I was hiding there near the tree and saw many ladies there in the bathing ghat. Nothing happened to me. The lady was amused or even laughed at that, and she went and complained that thing to mother. Chandramani Devi, see, your son was telling like this, and how that beautifully the mother called him, and when the right opportune time came, waited for some time. The opportune time came, brought that child near. With great loving care, she explained, my dear Gadai, it is not that nothing is going to happen to you if you see those women there while bathing, but they have that lajja, shame, the women. So they will feel unhappy. All women are nothing but your mother, me. If you insult any of them, any woman, it is just like insulting your own mother, that is me. So you have to see in every woman your own mother. So that was enough for that small child, so much of Shraddha. So he took it so deeply, that child, that Gadadhar, Ramakrishna in that child. And after that, even before that, that was there strongly when the mother told that. So much of Shraddha in the words of the mother, so much of respect and obedience to mother, intense respect. We took it so deeply. And now he's seeing, having that filial attitude, that he's the child and all the women are his mother. With that attitude, he started looking at all the women. So Ramakrishna is now mentioning about that. One day, while living at Dakshineshwar, the master made mention of his lifelong filial attitude towards all women and told us a story from the Puranas. The story describes how firmly the knowledge of filial relation with all women, without any exception, was established in the heart of Ganesha, the chief of the illumined ones. So Ganesha, Isha or Ganapati or Ganesha, Pati or Isha means Lord, the chief of the illumined ones, not the Bhuta Preta Adi Gana. So we think that Ganesha or Ganapati means he has a retinue of all these Bhutas, the ghosts, hobgoblins who follow Shiva, but he is the chief of the illumined ones. He is the leader of the sages, the people who have realized God. So the group of them, he is the leader, nobody above him. So that's why Vinayaka. Vinayaka means Nanayako Yasya Saha. No more leader above him. So many people will be asking me how to develop leadership qualities. So Ganesha's all these beautiful nature, his character, it oozes out leadership qualities. So that's why Vinayaka, no more leader above him, is the topmost leader, Ganesha, Vinayaka, Ganapati, Ganesha. So Ramakrishna is telling the chief of the illumined ones. Before we were told that story, we did not have much of devotion to Sharadanandaji Maharaj, who is telling these incidents, who captured it from the mouth of Sri Ramakrishna himself, and now he is reproducing it. At that time, he is telling, before that, we didn't have much devotion to Lord Ganesha. So Sharadanandaji Maharaj, just like others taught, that pot-bellied, just eating, always eating sweets, Modaka Priya, sweet eater, big belly, obeys Ganesha. So there was no respect towards him, like many other youths. Sharadanandaji never had any respect. Before we told this story by the master himself, we did not have much of devotion to and reverence for that this pot-bellied Lambodara, pot-bellied, like a pot, his stomach like a pot-bellied, elephant-faced Gajanana, God with the exudation of flowing from his temples. Just like the elephant from the head, from the temples, that mother will be flowing like that. But since we heard this story from the master's holy mouth, we have the conviction that Ganesha was truly fit to be worshipped, truly fit to be worshipped before all the gods. After hearing this story from Ramakrishna, Sharadanandaji Maharaj is telling that we got convinced, all of us got convinced. We have the conviction that Ganesha was truly fit to be worshipped before all gods, and indeed he is worshipped. So now we all think that after reading some of the stories, that when Lord Shiva cut off the head of Ganesha to please Divine Mother Parvati, was very angry, to cool her down, to convince her. Then Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and so many, all the deities started giving so many boons to Ganesha. So all those boons were given to Ganesha, and that's why he gets all the first worship and so many other strength. So in himself, he was not so great. So this will be the attitude that they all gave that. But Sri Ramakrishna now is proving by this story that Ganesha is really fit for the worship, first worship, before any gods or goddesses. So Shardanandaji Maharaj is also telling that we all of us got the conviction that Ganesha was truly fit to be worshipped before all the gods, as indeed he is worshipped. So it is not by some boons given by some other deities. He really is fit for that. It is his great nature, that quality of Ganesha, which makes him to be worshipped before everybody or anybody. Nanayako is Saha. So he's first worshipped. In any worship, you have to first worship Ganesha. Think of Ganesha. Without Ganesha Puja, you can't move forward. Any puja, you have to start with Ganesha Puja. So that day when Ramakrishna told this story, we were convinced, says Shardanandaji Maharaj. We heard the story from the master's holy mouth. We have the conviction that Ganesha was truly fit to be worshipped before all the gods, as indeed he is worshipped. The story is this. One day, in his tender age, when he was a boy of 5 or 6, a small boy Ganesha, while playing, saw a she cat, a female cat, which he, in his boyish playfulness, started pulling the tail, bit it, pinched it, wounded and tortured it in various ways. You can see the children doing that. Not that the children are cruel, but it is out of innocence, unaware of what they are doing. The children do that. The cat somehow escaped with life and limbs from the hands of this baby Ganesha. When Ganesha became quiet and came to his mother, he saw, to his surprise, marks of injury on various parts of the holy person of Devi, Divine Mother. Very much pained to see the condition of his mother, because we all know that Ganesha is the topmost in Matru Bhakti, devotion to mother. Nobody can beat him. He is the highest ideal. As I have told many times, our gods and goddesses in our Hindu pantheon, 330 million gods, they represent so many such beautiful ideals in perfection. So all those, they are nothing but the sum total of that ideals. Just like Ramachandra, Satyavakya Paripalaka, Pitruvakya Paripalaka, a great son who respected his father's words, obedient to his father, always telling the truth. Praja Samrakshaka, he was the ideal king. He loved his people. He would go to any extent to sacrifice anything. He sacrificed even his wife Sita for the sake of the subjects. Ideal king. So I take a Patni Vartasta. None other than Mother Sita used to see other women as all mothers. So he respected and looked after only Mother Sita as the wife. Ekapatni Vratasta. Like that, so many characters in perfection can be seen in Ramachandra. So he stands for those ideals. Krishna, Tyaga, Kingmaker, great personality, so many other characters. So he represents some ideals. Likewise, all deities, all the 330 millions, they're all representing some ideals for us. If we are devotees of that particular God, we get all those ideals and move forward in the scale of evolution. We move forward towards the God, getting all those perfections one by one by these praises of the ideals, doing the puja, we raise ourselves higher and higher in the scale of evolution to find the perfection, to become Paripurna Parabrahma, the holistic Parabrahma Swarupa, all round development. So, all these ideals, Shiva, Narayana, they are all representing so many ideals, gods and goddesses, for us to go up in life. So, now Ganesha is known for Matru Bhakti, highest devotion to mother. So, from our childhood, we should teach children Ganesha's this highest ideal, mother, love for mother. Then automatically you can see all the children respecting all women. This is the way we have to celebrate Women's Day, not just wishing each other and sending some messages on that particular day and keeping quiet all the rest of the day. You will treat women. You do not take care of the women properly. They are just looked after like servants. And you tell we celebrated Women's Day that one particular day. Is that the way? Our Hindu religion teaches us that all the day you have to respect mother. The mother has to be taken care of with great care, and that ideal for that is Ganesha. From childhood, we have to give for the children the way Lord Ganesha respected. All the children have to be told all this highest ideal. We don't have time to give religion. We give them iPad, phone. We have time, patience to give all that thing and spoil the children. We give all nonsense as cinemas, cartoons, and so many other things to the children, spoil their minds. We don't have patience. We, first of all, do not know about all these things, higher ideal, and where is the question of giving them to them? So, when we give all these beautiful ideals from the childhood, just like you can see Gadadhar was so much impressed by the mother's teaching, and Ganesha by the words of Mother Parvati. So like that, when you tell about Ganesha to the children, they will learn that highest ideal of respecting mother, respecting father in the family. So they will be highly obedient to father and mother. They will look after them with great care. So that is the way we have to groom our children. The children education has to be given in this fashion. So this was how our Sanatana Dharma, the Hindu Dharma, was giving all the children. And in the name of modernization, in the name of higher education, we have taken away all these things, telling that we are so modern, we don't want to give all these things. And you see what has happened to the society. And you see what is the nature of the children who grow up to be elder ones. They don't respect their father and mother. It's you who are responsible for that. They will not respect you as your father, as a father and as a mother. They will push you into the old age home. That's why the old age homes are increasing. The nursing homes are increasing. In India, we would never think, we couldn't even imagine about old age home. Whenever I used to go to inaugurate so many old age homes, I would feel ashamed. I have to, such a position has come in India that I have to inaugurate old age homes. With great pain, I had to inaugurate all those things. I used to tell that the concept of old age home was not there in India. People had to take care of the father and mother with so much of great care. All that thing, why did we lose? In the name of modernization, the name of higher education, we neglected the real education, which has to be given from childhood to the children. So see how Mother Parvati is giving that training to Ganesha, which we have to emulate, teach all these things to our children. When Ganesha became quiet and came to his mother, he saw, to his surprise, marks of injury on various parts of the holy person of Divine Mother Parvati. Very much pain to see the condition of his mother. The boy asked her the reason for it. Mother, how could this happen to you? That boy, Ganesha, loved mother so much, had highest respect to mother. The Devi answered in a melancholy mood. Ganesha, you yourself are the cause of this sad condition of mine. More pained. First of all, he loves his mother and respects his mother so much. Now, when he came to know mother is blaming that you have done it, Ganesha himself was much more pained. You yourself are the cause of this, and said, this sad condition of mine, more pained. So, Divine Mother Parvati said this in melancholy, sadness, that you are the cause. Many people who ill-treat their wives, many people who ill-treat their mothers, their sisters. I tell them, they come here as devotees. I've seen so many devotees behaving like that with other women folk. No respect for the wife, no respect for the mothers, no respect for the sisters. They ill-treat them. And they call themselves great devotees. And they want to be respected in the society. How can that be? When you cannot treat your own mother, your own wife, your own sisters respectfully, with great care, how can you be called devotees? It's all sheer bogus nonsense. Don't know how to treat your own women folk. That was Hinduism teaching how great care has to be taken in treating the mothers and sisters, the women folk in the family. So now you can see when you ill-treat them, when you beat them, when you show your cruelty which is within them to the woman folk, it will pain the Divine Mother. Since Ganesha had ill-treated that cat, she-cat, now Mother Parvati is replying in melancholy. What is that word melancholy? Pain, is sadness. So whichever way you ill-treat women, that will directly reach Divine Mother Parvati and she will be pained. You are paining the Divine Mother. You want to worship her? Durga Puja, Navaratri, 9 days you will be worshipping Divine Mother. And here, the live manifestation of woman, you ill-treat her. What a contrast, what an irony. So it saddens Divine Mother. You'll be, if you ill-treat here, the live woman here, any woman, any girl, any female being, it directly reaches Divine Mother. Divine Mother will be sad. See now, the words of Sri Ramakrishna has to be noted. Change our attitude towards women. Treat them with highest respect. Very much pain to see the condition of his mother. The boy asked her the reason for it. The Devi, Divine Mother Parvati, answered in a melancholy mood, painful mood, saddened mood. So just Ganesha ill-treated that she-cat, that too with ignorance, innocence. Even then, it pained Divine Mother in melancholy mood, painful mood. So if you deliberately ill-treat women, show that cruelness of your mind, then you can understand the sadness you cause to the Divine Mother. Direct sadness, the direct pain you're causing to the Divine Mother. Oh human being, oh man, why can't you change your attitude? We have to be ashamed to call ourselves as devotees, that too of Ramakrishna. Calling ourselves great devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, worshippers of Ganesha, we have to be ashamed that we ill-treat and we are harsh to the women folk. So the Devi answered in a melancholy mood, you yourself are the cause of this sad condition of mine, Ganesha. Now Ganesha was much more pained and then surprised at it. How did I cause? I love my mother so much, I respect my mother so much. How can I cause injury to you, mother? More pained than surprised at it, the devoted Ganesha said with tears in his eyes, how strange, mother. When did I beat you? When did I cause you injury? I don't remember that this child of yours, ignorant as he is, has done any wicked action for which you have to suffer such insults at the hands of anyone. Parvati Devi, whose gross external form, who see, you have to note all these things, etch it in your heart. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna, the greatest avatara. You have to respect it, you have to take it in deep into your heart. Sri Ramakrishna is telling, Parvati Devi, whose gross external form the universe is. Parvati Devi, whose gross external form the universe is said. Try to remember Ganesha. If you have beaten any living creature today, try to remember Ganesha. If you have ill-treated or beaten any living creature today, yes, said Ganesha, I did so. I bet a cat a short time ago. Ganesha thought that the person to whom the cat belonged came back in anger and bet his mother that way. Ganesha's mother took the repentant boy to her bosom and consoled him, saying, It is not so, my child. Nobody bet this body of mine, but it is I who have assumed the form of the cat. All the female beings, it is I who have assumed the form of the cat. That is why you see the marks of your beating on my person. You have done so without knowing it. So from here afterwards, don't be sorry for it. But remember henceforward, yeah, you have done it without knowledge. So don't be sorry for it. But remember henceforward that all the jivas of the world having female forms, again, the words of Mother Parvati, Durga, the words of Sri Ramakrishna have to be deeply ingrained into our mind and heart. What is that words? It should ring always in your heart. The highest knowledge. What is that? Remember Ganesha. Henceforward, always remember that all the jivas of the world, all the living beings, jivas of the world, having female forms, any female form, are parts of me, or parts of Durga, any female form. It is whether it may be insect, it may be a microbe, it may be a cat, it may be a fish, it may be a bird, anything, any living being, any female form is your Mother Parvati. Remember henceforward Ganesha, Divine Mother Parvati is telling that all the jivas of the world having female form are parts of me, and those having male forms are parts of your father. At the same time, women folk also have to remember that all the men folks, whether it is male, any male form, whether it is a microbe, a bacteria, a plant, a man, a cat, a dog, all the female form are nothing but the gross expression, gross form of Lord Shiva, your father, Lord Shiva. So, henceforward, remember, Ganesha, that all the jivas of the world having female forms are parts of me, and those having male forms are parts of your father. So, women folk also had to be very, very careful in treating the men, the male child, with great care, because all the male folks are the veritable manifestation of Lord Shiva, any male being. So that also has to be taken care. But most of the time, mothers are very careful. But some mothers may be ill-treating the male folk too. That also they have to take care, because they are the you are directly causing injury or hurt to Lord Shiva. So if you want to cause hurt and injury to Lord Shiva, you may continue that fashion, ill-treating menfolk. It will directly reach Lord Shiva. So Mother Parvati is telling, henceforward remember Ganesha, that all the jivas of the world having female forms are parts of me, and those having male forms are parts of your father. There are no persons or things in the world other than Shiva and Shakti. There are no forms, any living being in this world other than your father Shiva and your mother Shakti. Ganesha had faith. So again, the faith comes here. Shraddha, Shraddha. Whatever you hear good things, put it into action. Belief in action is Shraddha. Belief in action is Shraddha. Whatever you believe, whatever you have the conviction, whatever you have heard from great people, your Guru, scriptures, Divine Mother, Shiva, Ramakrishna is told, immediately put it into action. That is Shraddha. So now, there are no persons or things in the world other than Shiva and Shakti. Ganesha had faith in those words. So if we have to become like Ganesha, the child of Father and the great universal Father and Mother, Shiva and Shakti, then we have to become Ganesha. Devo Bhutva Devam Yajet. You have to become like Ganesha. How can I become like Ganesha? Have faith like Ganesha. So Ganesha had faith in those words and enshrined them in his heart. Enshrined those words of Mother Parvati in his heart. So also we should enshrine that words. When he reached the marriageable age, he did not consent to marry lest he should have to marry his own mother. Ganesha thus remained a brahmacharin. So Ganesha is the eternal brahmacharin like Hanuman. So Hanuman also might be have got inspiration from Ganesha to be eternal brahmacharin. So even now you can see the ideal for brahmacharya is Lord Ganesha. The highest ideal for brahmacharya is Lord Ganesha. So Ganesha thus remained a brahmachari all his life and became foremost among the illumined ones. And he became the foremost among the illumined ones. Illumined means the realized soul, the Jivan Muktas, the great Gnanis, Sthita Prajna, which we are learning in Bhagavad Gita. So, the foremost among the Sthita Prajnas, the foremost among the Gnanis, the realized soul, Ganesha occupied that post because he had faith in the words of the mother, his own mother. Ganesha thus remained a brahmachari in all his life and became foremost among the illumined ones, inasmuch as he always had the conviction in his heart that the universe was of the nature of Shiva and Shakti, of his own father and mother, Brahman, Parabrahma Swarupa, and its power. So, that is the highest knowledge. Seeing God in everything is the highest acme of spiritual life. So, Ganesha is the leader, the chief among the illumined souls. When do you get illumined? When you start seeing God in every living being, seeing Lord Shiva in all the male folks and seeing Divine Mother in all the female folk. That is the acme, the final thing of spiritual life. So we have to start practicing it. We think we have some very queer ideas, peculiar ideas of spiritual life. Some Kundalini coming up and so many other visions. No. That is only a very small part of spiritual life. The real aspect, the highest aspect of spiritual life is seeing God, seeing the Parabrahma Swarupa and its power, seeing Divine Mother Parvati in all the female beings and treating with faith and responding in such a way in your behavior, day-to-day behavior, and seeing Lord Shiva in every male being and responding in your life in the same way. That is spiritual life. Not just having some queer ideas, thinking of your own ego, your own selfishness, whatever might be the difficulty you are having, forget about that thing. Think of the Lord. See Lord in every living beings and treat them. Whoever comes to your house as a guest, whether it might be the person as a husband or the wife or the children or the father or the mother, anybody in your house, treat them, all the male folks as Lord Shiva or Narayana, all the female folk as Divine Mother Parvati, Durga or Lakshmi or Saraswati, whatever. That is spiritual life. That is real spiritual life. So we forget all those things. We do not have all those concepts of spirituality at all. We have very peculiar ideas of spirituality. So Kundalini will rise up and that Kundalini will go up and in this thing, yes, that is there in Raj Yoga. That's just happening. You should not worry about that. Give much credence to that things. The important thing is how you behave with other people. That is real spiritual life. That is faith. That is Shraddha. That is real spiritual life. How do you behave with your husband? How do you behave with your wife, with your children, with your father, with your mother, with your colleagues, with your neighbors, with all the people. That is spiritual life. Seeing God in them. That is how you move forward in spiritual life. That's how Ganesha has become the topmost amongst the illumined soul. So these are to be grasped, understood. So reading of all this life of Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, is not nothing just for the story, but for the sake of understanding what is real spiritual life. And after knowing what is real spiritual life, then start inculcating, start practicing. Otherwise, what is the use if you don't practice it? Yes, I may be weak. Now, I have to become strong. Your weakness is itself not the strength. Yes, may have weakness. I might have not been doing, I didn't know. But when I start knowing it, I have to put it into practice, gradually improve myself, go forward. So that is the beautiful story of Lord Ganesha, not story, the reality, as told by none other than the greatest of avatars, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa himself. And also so many beautiful words of Mother Parvati to Ganesha. And Ganesha himself has practiced that, and Ganesha Chaturthi is coming. Should we practice all these things before worshipping Ganesha? Let us have these qualities of Ganesha in us. On the day of Ganesha Chaturthi, when I am to talk, I will again repeat it. Maybe I have repeated thousands of times. This story of Ganesha, I like it so much. It's my favorite story. I might have repeated this more than 1,000 times. Each time I repeat it, I find joy. I find peace. I don't know about others, but I'm repeating it more than 1,000 times, maybe this story. I still find joy. Still find peace. Still find newer and newer ideas each time I explain this, tell this story. I get newer ideas. I feel so happy. Whatever it might be, we have to start practicing it, getting those ideas moving forward. Again, the last word of Ramakrishna there, the last sentence. Inasmuch as he always had the conviction, Ganesha, inasmuch as Ganesha had the conviction in his heart that the universe was of the nature, the whole universe was of the nature of Shiva and Shakti. Or you may call it as Narayana and Lakshmi, whatever you like. Brahman and its power. After narrating this, the master told us the following anecdote, also indicative of the greatness of Ganesha's knowledge, showing once the precious necklace of gems hanging from her neck to Ganesha and Kartikeya Subramanya, the brother of Ganesha. Parvati Devi said to them, I shall give this necklace to the one who will circumambulate the universe comprising the 14 worlds and come back to me first. So the whole universe you have to circumambulate. So some people, the story goes of fruit, a mango. And here in this story, it is the necklace, whatever it might be. But let us go into the spirit of the story. So this competition was for Ganesha and Kartikeya, the two children of Mother Parvati. I shall give this necklace to the one who will circumambulate the universe comprising the 14 worlds and come back to me first. Kartika Subramanya, the commander of the celestial army, Devasenani, thinking of his elder brother's fat and heavy body and pot belly, and of the small power and slow movement of the mouse, his Vahana, Ganesha's Vahana, Mushika Vahana, his vehicle, and became Kokshua. Because another name in Tamil Nadu is Muruga. Muruga comes from the word that Murgi, or Murgi means hen, cock. Again, the word Kokshua has been used here. He was very sure, Muruga, that the garland or the necklace or the fruit had already become his. Because how can Ganesha with that pot belly and fat body, heavy weight, traveling on that small mouse, go around the world? My mount is, I'm so slim and I'm the commander, maybe 6-packs or 8-pack body, Subramanya. And my mount is peacock. It's so big and it flies very fast. So I'll go around and sure, it's definite that the prize is mine. So Subramanya was cocksure. Kartikeya became cocksure that the garland or the fruit has already become his and started immediately on the circumambulation of the universe. Long after that, Kartika had started, the sedate Ganesha left his seat calmly and seeing with the eye of knowledge. Oh, that's to be remembered. Such a beautiful thing, you see, stated by Ramakrishna here. And Shardanandaji, such beautiful thing, seeing with the eye of knowledge. That's very, very important. Spiritual life, that is very important. These are the things which you have to emulate in spiritual life, the eye of knowledge. That's called the third eye, right? That's the reason that the third eye here, nothing, some special thing. It will burn others, people from the third eye. It burns the ignorance. So the third eye here, which we put the tilak or the gandha or the vermilion, whatever, the kumkum by the Divine Mother is indicative of this knowledge, eye of knowledge. The third eye is indicative of the knowledge, eye of knowledge. So long after Kartika started, the sedate Ganesha left his seat calmly and seeing with the eye of knowledge the universe consisting of Mother Parvati and Shiva, his father, Shiva, consisting of Parabrahma and Shakti, Shiva and Shakti, situated in the body of Hara and Parvati, Hara Hara Mahadeva, Hara and Parvati, went round them with a gentle gait, worshipped them, and took his seat. Long after this, Kartika returned when pleased with the knowledge and devotion of Ganesha. Parvati Devi placed the garland of gems affectionately around his neck as a token of her grace. That mango or that necklace was given to Ganesha. Thus mentioning the greatness of Ganesha's knowledge and his filial relation with all women without exception, the master said, my attitude, that is Ramakrishna's, my attitude to women is also the same. Ganesha Swarupa, Sri Ramakrishna, Sarvadeva Devi Swarupa, all the deities, all the ideals have been incorporated. Sri Ramakrishna has manifested all that. If you too manifest, then you too will become Sarvadeva Devi Swarupa. Manifest them in toto, in full, in perfection, then you too will become Sarvadeva Devi Swarupa. So how Ramakrishna is Sarvadeva Devi Swarupa? Now it is Ganesha Swarupa. We have seen Sita Swarupa. He realized Mother Sita. Rama Swarupa, Krishna Swarupa, Radhe Swarupa, Parvati Swarupa, Kali Swarupa, Shiva Swarupa, Narayana Swarupa, Vishnu Swarupa. All that ideals which our Hindu pantheon, the gods and goddesses, 330 millions of gods and goddesses, they represent that ideal or principle in perfection. And all that was realized and brought about in Sri Ramakrishna. So he started manifesting. Here you can see the Ganesha Swarupa. Sri Ramakrishna is telling, Shardanandaji Maharaj is quoting that from the holy lips of Sri Ramakrishna himself. What is that? Thus mentioning the greatness of Ganesha's knowledge. Greatness of Ganesha's knowledge and his filial relation. We are already celebrating Ganesha Puja now itself. It seems that today is Ganesha Puja because the birthday of Ganesha. Ganesha is born in our heart. We have to nurture him now. So thus mentioning the greatness of Ganesha's knowledge and his filial relationship with all women. Without exception, the master said, my attitude to women is also the same. That is why I had the vision of the maternal form of the universal cause in my wedded wife. Even in my wedded wife, Sri Ramakrishna is telling that is Mother Sharda Devi. My attitude to women is also the same. That is why I had the vision of the maternal form of the universe. The vision of the maternal form of the universe, mother's form of the universe, in my wedded wife too. Sri Ramakrishna is telling this about Sharda Devi. Even I see that Divine Mother, my own biological mother or Divine Mother, manifested in my own wife Sharda Devi, and worshipped her and bow down at her feet. I bow down at her feet. Sharda Devi. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna himself. If Ramakrishna has gone to the extent of worshipping, seeing the maternal form in Mother Sharda Devi in his own wedded wife, at least that is a very high ideal. We ordinary human beings, at least you can start treating your own wife, your own daughters, your own mothers, to some extent, at least being devotees. To call yourself as the devotee of Ramakrishna, a devotee of Ganesha, devotee of Ramachandra, devotee of Krishna, who are treating their mothers, who are treating the women, their wife, with so much of great care. Ramakrishna has gone to the pinnacle, the highest treatment of his own wife in that form, with so much of respect. At least we can't practice 0.0001% of what Ramakrishna stood for, at least to call ourselves the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, the followers of Sri Ramakrishna, to represent Sri Ramakrishna, at least to some extent. Yes, it may not be possible with our weak mind to rise to that extent of Sri Ramakrishna, at least 10%, 1%. Start from today that attitude of Ganesha, practicing that great respect, everybody, seeing God in them. So, real Ganesha Puja started today itself, the birth of Ganesha. The story goes afterwards also of Muruga. We all know that. What is that? After that, Ganesha winning that fruit. Let us take now as fruit, that mango, very beautiful mango bought by Narada Maharshi. So now the fruit was given to Ganesha. Ganesha won it. Now Subramanya or Kartika became angry, upset that he didn't get the fruit. So just with one kaupinam, the lion cloth, he went somewhere in South India. There are 7 hills. One of them is main, that is the exact place he went, Palani. To go to Tamil Nadu, there is a place called Palani. So Subramanya went on that hillock and stood there, just with one kaupinam. He went away from his father and mother, got upset, but he didn't get that. And he stayed there, started doing tapasya. The small child Subramanya, Kartikeya, and Mother Parvati had to go there to please Subramanya and Kartikeya and bring back from Palani. She convinced, why do you want another fruit, my dear child, Subramanya or Kartikeya? You are the Swarupa, nature of the fruit. Phalaswarupa, Phalaswarupani. You are of the nature of the fruit. What is that fruit? Phalaswarupa. The real fruit is Parabrahma Gnana, Atma Gnana, which we are now studying in Bhagavad Gita. Your own true nature, your own self. So the Divine Mother Parvati is telling Subramanya, through that she is telling us, all of us, your true nature, the real phala, the real enjoyment, the real phala, fruit is your own Atman, your own Atma Gnana, the knowledge of your Atma, the knowledge of Parabrahma. Have that filial attitude, beautiful attitude. That is the main thing, kama, which disturbs us, which takes away our mind. That lust is the thing which distracts our mind. You have that knowledge. If you think of Ganesha in the beginning, then this thing will come to your mind and it will purify your mind. Then there will be no obstacle, anything. You remember Ganesha, mind becomes pure because you will have this attitude. There is no lust. It goes away. Then any venture you take up will become a success. There will be no distraction. You will get concentration. See how our people have devised. Why should you remember Ganesha? Whenever you do any puja, you remember Ganesha. Why obstacles are gone? You can think of it like this. Okay, we have studied so many wonderful things of our scriptures, especially of Ganesha. We're really blessed to celebrate Ganesha Chaturthi today itself. On the day of Ganesha Chaturthi also, I'll be telling about the story of Ganesha and other things. So we will be in that mood. Meditate on Ganesha always on the day of Ganesha Chaturthi also. So we'll end our conversation for today. Again, we'll meet on Thursday and Friday. the Lord wills. We're also meeting on Ganesh Chaturthi. Today evening, we have the puja session. We have come up to the Bhuta Shuddhi. We'll be continuing in learning about puja, the significance of worship. Then tomorrow is Viveka Chudamani in the evening, discussion on Viveka Chudamani, Christian of discrimination. Then Wednesday we have Bhagavad Gita. Thursday, Friday again the Great Master in the morning. Then Saturday we have again Bhagavad Gita. All are welcome. Oh, sorry, Saturday I think we can't have Bhagavad Gita in the evening because there will be this Ganesh Chaturthi program. So we will be celebrating Ganesh Chaturthi in the evening, 4 o'clock on Saturday. So all of you are welcome to all these programs. So if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, we can use this time for that. You can ask any questions on the matter we have discussed today or any spiritual aspect.
Om Swamiji.
Om.
Swamiji, you have talked a lot about mothers, and the question ties into that. And if we watch, like all of us, the Ramanand Sagar Ramayana, we see a lot of the sacrifices Mother Sita has made. And the example, as you say, they leave behind. She was a princess who now had to go into the forest in her own right. She was tormented and kidnapped by Ravan. Her integrity was questioned, and she had to prove herself and her integrity in the fire. She also became a single mother, Swamiji, raising the children in the forest. What is the significance of the challenges? And we see some women in our culture in today's time experiencing similar challenges, Swamiji. And this month is Women's Month. So what is the example that or the message we need to take? And quite honestly, it seems as if there wouldn't even be in a Ramayana without the challenges or the sacrifices of Mother Sita. And finally, Swamiji, in one of your classes early on, you had mentioned that Holy Mother had given some indication where there was an object of Mother Sita left somewhere, and she said, it is exactly where I remember leaving it. If I had forgotten, if you could just remind us of that example, Swamiji. Om.
Yeah, there is nothing special message. The message is so clear, loud and clear. So sacrifice shown by Mother Sita or any other, this thing, Mother Sharda Devi and all the deities here is a reminder that we should also sacrifice in life. When difficulties come, we should not shy away or run away. We have to face them. We have to sacrifice our life for the welfare of the society or the other people, for our parents, for our other kith and kin, and the countrymen and everybody, all the poor people. That itself is the message, loud and clear, that we should also have that. If Mother Sita has done that, we should also sacrifice. We should also be all forbearing. We should be all, any pain which comes, we have to be withstanding that, taking the name of the Lord, having the devotion to the Lord. These are the clear messages which they give. So we have to emulate them. They have come down from their higher state of Vaikuntha or higher state to the human being level, to our level, and undergone so many difficulties, sacrifices. Not that to read as a story and just forget it, but we should also inculcate those qualities, that attitude of sacrifice, and be blessed and make other life too happy. That's what I told again and again in the spiritual life, that we have to inculcate those things into our life. That is Shraddha, that is faith. Any other questions? Any other doubts? I think there are no other questions or doubts, so I shall conclude with the prayer. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.